There's no hill we can't climb. There's no mountain too high for us now. There's no reason to hide.
Hi, guys. Welcome to another episode of Abuse Recovery Success. I'm super excited today for our guest, Jennifer, because she's just quite frankly a powerhouse of a woman and someone I'm really excited for my listeners to get a chance to hear her story, meet her, get to know what she's all about. Personally, I'm super motivated by you because I love fitness and I think you're just a beacon of fitness, health, strength, and I've enjoyed following you on social media. So without further ado, welcome to Abuse Recovery Success. Jennifer, tell us more about you.
Thank you so much. First of all, I'm honored and I'm humbled to be here with you this afternoon. Like you said, my name is Jennifer Micheli. I am currently 59 years old. I am a mom of three. I started my journey in life in the city of San Francisco. I'm one of two children. My brother and I are actually born on the same day. We're 2 years apart. I was born on his second birthday, February 1st. And I grew up in a household of really loving parents. I didn't know at the time that my dad was an alcoholic, that my dad drank. And so I grew up in San Francisco till I was 8 years old. Loved growing up in the city, multicultural, multiracial. And when I was 8, my parents decided to move to San Diego. My grandparents lived there. So we packed up, we moved to San Diego and started my journey there. And something that I was very blessed. I mean, we used to go camping and we used to do all of these amazing things as a family, again, not knowing that my dad drank. So one of the very first memories and something that was really significant in my life happened when I was 10 years old, February 23rd to be exact. I remember waking up and my mom came into the bathroom and she said, I just want to let you know that dad didn't come home last night. He spent the night in jail. He was arrested for a DUI. And I can remember the gut feeling, scared as a child, not knowing really what that meant. And that afternoon, two men came to our house. Little did I know at that time, but they were from AA, and my dad sought help. And all I remember is he was sitting in this rocking chair in a pair of Levi jeans, his shirt off, and these gentlemen talking to him. And now what I know is that my dad made a decision that day to turn his life around. So my dad got sober when I was 10 years old. There's a lot of things that for me happened significantly in decades. And that was the first one in my first 10 years of life that was pretty traumatic. Things started to change around the house. He was, showed up differently. He always had this way about him. Now that I know that he worked a 12-step program, I didn't understand it then, but I loved his soul and who he was. Yet I decided to still, go out and party. My first drink was at the age of 15, went to the dance party, had the first beer, loved the way that it made me feel, and then proceeded to just, casually drink all through high school. By the time I was 17 years old, I was dating a guy who was older than me. And he started, using Coke. And next thing you know, I'm using Coke at the age of 17. Not, kind of sneaking in and out, doing some things that I wasn't really too proud of at that time. And I ended up having an auto accident, which was a little bit scary for myself and my parents. I wasn't hurt, but that was the first wake up call. I graduated high school at the age of 17. And I ended up moving at the age of 18 to the island of Maui, still actively drinking. Well, I backtrack. I went to a year of junior college and I decided college wasn't for me, that I wanted to go to the island of Maui. A friend of mine was living there. And when I got there, not only was I drinking and partying, but I started into full-blown anorexia. I've been an athlete my whole life now for 42 years. And, the most I weighed back then was 112. Ended up in full-blown anorexia, getting down to 80 pounds. And at that time, I was writing home to my parents. I was excited about what was happening. Of course, they were not excited. They came to visit me, and I can remember distinctly when they got off the airplane, the look of horror on their face when they saw me. And I can proudly say that I was excited that I could take my fingers like this, and that was the size of my arm. Well, they spent 2 weeks there. They asked me to come home and get some help. And I think I just really surrendered at that point. I knew that I needed to get help. And my dad, when he got sober, that he started becoming an alcohol and drug counselor in the state of California. And one of his nurses actually was a recovered anorexic. And he wanted me to go for a walk with her on a beach one day. And we did. And she just point blank looked at me and she said, "Do you want to live?" And I said, "I do." She said, "Do you want to get married and have kids one day?" And I said, "I do." And she said, "The path that you're on, you probably will not make it." And she said, "Do you understand that your body needs fuel to survive, just like a car needs fuel to run? And you're asking her to do all of these things because I was still physical, I was still a jock, I was still working out, I wasn't fueling myself." And she could put in good fuel or poor fuel. So I started eating again. I crept my way back up to about 92 pounds. Um, Ended up vacationing with my mom in the island of Cancun, met my husband there, future husband at the time. And I traveled back and forth for about 8 months. And he asked me to come move to the island of Maui, or to the, not island of Maui, to the island of Cancun. And during that time, we were still full blown partying. You know, we were drinking, we were going out. He was a director for timeshare sales, making a lot of money. So we were living a pretty fast life, traveling back and forth to Miami, and really just kind of being carefree. You know, I think what people do at the age of 20, and I guess not everybody, but that was the lifestyle we were in.
Yeah.
And, ended up getting married and got pregnant. And we decided to move back to the States. And I had my first son. And I didn't party or, drink or do any drugs during my whole pregnancy. And I slowly started, drinking a little bit afterwards. And actually, when my son was 5 months old, was for me the last time that I drank. We had gone to dinner with some friends and, had some drinks. And that led into a night of using cocaine. And that led into my son sitting in a swing all day the next day because I felt horrible. And I remember calling my dad and I just said, "I'm done. I need help." And he said to me, 90 meetings in 90 days. And he said, "By the way, do you know what today is?" And I said, "No, I don't." And he said, "Jen, it's my sobriety date." So my father and I actually have the same sobriety date, February 23rd, which is pretty amazing.
Amazing.
Yeah, it's been awesome. And now I'm 30 years sober. Along the journey, I have two more children, my children, Dominic, Matthew, and Vanessa, which really are just the light of my life. I mean, they never saw me drink or drug, which is absolutely incredible. We moved to Daytona Beach to open up a gym. Again, that was my passion. Like you said, I've been involved in the industry for so long. I had my gym. And then along my journey, I actually got introduced to the company called Herbalife. And I've been with Herbalife now as a fitness coach and nutrition coach for the last 23 years. So I've taken my passion and turned it into my profession, which has just been incredible. And really all while helping men and women become their best, whether it's through sobriety, through self-esteem, through spiritual, through finances. And I'm just really committed that everybody wins, and that your past doesn't determine your future. And so I'm a pure example of that no matter where you started from, it doesn't have to be your story today.
Yeah, your past doesn't have to define you. Well, it's a beautiful story. May I ask you if your brother struggled at all in life with addiction or?
Yeah. So the interesting thing, never, he never picked up a drink or a drug.
Wow.
And recovery rooms, sometimes we call that like the dry drunk.
Yeah.
I mean, he had characteristics, but never did. So I was the one, we always say that like I got it out of I got out of the way, but I mean, I was the risk taker. I was the one that experimented. I think I did enough for the both of us, but no, he never to this day. He's 61 years old and he has never drank and he's never done a drug.
That's crazy. So he was younger than you?
No, he's 2 years.
And he just never picked it up.
No.
Tell me about the husband. So you met him, you're young, you're wild, free, as they call it. And what happened? Did he stop? How did he support you in that?
Well, he was not a drinker. He smoked pot, which I never did. I've never smoked pot. I never wanted to have the downer. And he was the one that was really, like into the coke and providing the coke at that time.
Yeah.
But again, he was super successful in his career, and it wasn't like we did it all the time.
Yeah.
It really doesn't matter how often do you do it, right? I mean, we had a lifestyle. He was a sales director for a very high-powered, timeshare resort in the island Cancun. And so we were functional, definitely. But I think as I continued to get sober and as I was making better choices, and I just wanted more for my life. I didn't want that to be a part of my life. And I think as I grew, and especially once I started my business and like my career, I realized that I was very powerful, and I realized that I was able to make an impact in other people's lives. And believe it or not, it was hard for him because he was, Italian, beautiful guy, and he was kind of like the provider. And I don't want to say I was the trophy wife, but I think to a degree I was. And then when I started developing and having a voice, I think it was a little bit difficult for him to handle. So I'm the one that ended the marriage. But there is a very happy ending. We're incredible friends. We spend a lot of time together. We do things with our children. So for me, what people think things have to be, again, isn't what it has to be, because we both worked really, really hard in becoming the best versions of ourselves.
I love that. I love that. And everybody's journey is different. And sometimes as we grow, those things don't always line up. And I think, I don't know how much the listeners might know, but from what I know about things like an Herbalife, for you to be a founding member, I think starting in the beginning and then create what you've created with it, that takes extreme hustle, and it's pretty darn impressive, and I'm sure you are doing very well with it. So I bet that is intimidating, and not everyone can handle our greatness is is what I say, because I think when you've been through so much and you've faced a lot of demons and you've overcame, you start to, I don't know about you, but I kind of go into things just like, fuck it, I'm going to try it. Like, I'm going to do it. I'm going to put my all into it. There's a little less fear. I mean, there's fear, but there's the ability to face the fear, right? Because you faced that darkness.
Oh, I agree 100%. And, my philosophy is always like, number one, I mean, I wouldn't change any of my past at all. I wouldn't change any of that because it made me who I am today. And today, who I am is a passionate, loving, powerful mom, sister, daughter, leader in our community, a woman of impact. And I wouldn't change that. And I wouldn't have the compassion that I have today. Wouldn't have the, wherewithal to be able to work with other people. And I think, especially if you're a woman, and especially if you're in shape. I mean, I was judged my entire life. I was bullied as a young girl because of my looks and my athleticism. And, it can go either way if you're in shape or not in shape. Right. So, those were some of the insecurities I think that I had. We talked about it as a family because when my dad was drinking, my mom, they got married young. She didn't really realize it was a disease. So her thought process was, if everything is perfect, then he won't drink. So like she would wipe us down immediately if we got dirty, and the house had to be spotless and all of these things. So I know that led to me feeling the need that I always had to be perfect. And so, I was a straight A student. I did all of those things. And then maybe that wasn't necessarily like the way to get what I wanted, then I went the other way. Right.
Yeah.
So I realized that all of that makes up who I am today. And today at 59 years old, I do look in the mirror and I'm like, you know what? You're pretty much a badass, and you've overcome a lot.
Yeah.
And that's no ego involved. It's just really the facts, and that's what my children, and let's just deal in the facts. Like, this is what happened, and these are the choices that we get to make to get on the other side, so it's pretty powerful.
It's really powerful. So tell me this, if you knew there was a listener right now listening to our podcast that maybe is stuck in addiction and in a similar situation to you found yourself in, what would you tell them? Because, you had your dad to call, and not everyone might have someone with that experience. But as you've worked with others in recovery, what would you recommend to someone listening?
I think the most important thing, number one is to not mentally keep beating themselves up, because I think that's what we do. I think, a lot of times we stay in shame, and shame is the worst. I mean, you can stay stuck in that position for so long. So being able to reach out, and I think now more than ever, vulnerability is a sign of strength. It's not a sign of weakness. And I think for so many people, they're afraid to share what's really going on with them. So I would say be willing and being open to asking for help, knowing that Your story is very powerful. My story is powerful. Every addict story is powerful. Everybody in recovery. And it's the thing that can propel us to become our greatest version of ourselves. And so, we're in it and there is a way out and we don't have to stay stuck in it. And there is an easier, softer way to live. And the most important thing is that just to ask for help, at whatever level that is for you. So, I've always been an open book. I've never had a problem. I love sharing my story. Even today, like you said, I mean, yes, I'm the top 1% in Herbalife. There's, a limited amount of us that are that, and I'm able to travel the world and share my Herbalife journey. But I always weave in this journey because this is who I am. And people are always like, oh my gosh, like the fact that you're raw and you're real, vulnerable makes it relatable. So then that gives other people a chance that they too can have a life different from what they're currently living. So, I think just seeking, but really releasing the shame. And I know that's a hard place. It's really hard to do that. That's why for us, our stories need to be told over and over and over again for people to hear.
Yeah. I love that you talk about, shame, and the purpose of this podcast is to shatter shame. And I think you also mentioned, I loved a lot of what you said, but I liked when you said the 90 and 90. And again, this podcast is pro recovery, and whatever that looks like for the listener, that's, your path, your journey. We can only make recommendations here. We can only tell what worked for us. But I absolutely did 90 and 90. And for me, I mean, I had so much shame getting sober, and I had to break down and let anyone into that. And, I got 12 stepped out of a bar. I went to the hospital. I was, physically addicted, and I had a tough time. And I think that the purpose of hearing stories like yours for the listener is that this, because what you appear to be, when you look at you on social media, I've got my printout and I follow you. It's like, you just exude this strength and kind of hardcore, and this entrepreneurial woman. And what I want is for everyone to understand that inside of that is softness. Inside of that is somebody who's struggled, who's seen really low places, that's had doubt in herself. And so in saying that, I know you said the low point was kind of with your son, and then you started in the 90 and 90. What would you say were some pivotal moments in that first year of sobriety? Like, did you have some challenges? Again, if your husband, because I'm not referring just to your husband at the time, but like a lot of us have friends or family or people still. How did you kind of handle all that?
Right. Well, I think the fact that I was a new mom, so much of my intention really was around getting well for him. And my husband and I had moved to Miami, and we really didn't know anybody. So the meetings became like everything for me. My sponsor became everything for me, and I was blessed to meet this woman who was 60, I was 28 at the time. And when she shared her story, she had come from this beautiful home and the executive husband, and she had everything. And she said, and then I ended up, losing it all and sleeping on a park bench. And she looked at me and she said, you're 28 years old. And if you, can do this today, like you don't have to lose all of those things. You don't have to go through that struggling. And so it was like, from 15 to 28, I had done a lot in that short period of time that, others maybe have drug out at a long time, because not only was it the anorexia, then it was the alcohol, then it was the Coke. It was like, how much can you compact, and there's many of us that have many of those things. I'm not saying I was unique, but I think my will to be better for my child, I got so crystal clear that, my son didn't ask to come into this world. We chose to have him. And it was definitely a daily practice working with my sponsor, knowing that I needed to get better so that I could be better for him. And that's where I'm at today as well, and my husband he was on board. I mean, I think he was willing, and he saw, and so it's kind of not necessarily sad that I outgrew him, but I did, because there's more to me. But it was really, I think, the fact that I would go and I would hold that 5-month-old and that 6-month-old and that 7-month-old child, and realizing, it's time for me to get my shit right, to be 100% honest. Like enough's enough.
Mhm.
And that was for me just a daily practice. And then again, staying physical. Exercise to me has always been my relief. I think when I started running at age 11. So if there was any ever stress in the home or stress in my life, I would just go out and I would run. I feel that I would rather be physically exhausted from a workout than mentally exhausted from the stuff that's in our head. So I like to just go hard at my workouts
I know.
because endorphins kick in, my serotonin levels kick in, and then I'm exhausted, and
Yeah.
it's like, is everything really that bad? No,
I
because I'm
love that.
worried.
I love that. And actually, when we I try to keep most of our getting to know each other on this podcast, but you and I chatted briefly and you were telling me about this running, and I work out a lot, but I was joking with you that I admire people that run so much because it's so darn hard. But okay, so tell the listeners a little bit about who you are today. What are some practices that keep you grounded and centered right now that they can maybe
Mhm.
use in their own lives?
Okay. Well, who I am today, I mean, like I said, I'm a proud 59-year-old. It's just crazy to me to think I have no idea how I'm that old, except I look at my children today, and my oldest is 30, my son Dominic, my son Matt's 29, my daughter Vanessa's 27. And I've done this for a very long time. I've woken up because became the single mom. I'd have to get up. I got up an extra hour early so I could have my quiet time, my spiritual time, my grounding time before the day would start with all these three kids. Right. So I've always woken up. Herbalife has this amazing chai tea. I drink my warm chai tea and I do my gratitude journal. And I've listed 10 things that I'm grateful for over 30 years. I mean, that's just been a daily practice. After that, I write my I am statements. And sometimes, even when you're not feeling that you are, whatever you are, it's like when you write it and you speak it into existence, you start believing it. And then I set my intentions for the day on a piece of, that's all on one side of my journal, actually, which is right here. And then on the second side of my journal, I write all of the things that I'm manifesting in my life. And I have done that every single day for the last 30 years, like I said, and then it's amazing to watch how those things start to unfold in my life. I really do believe that the universe brings you whatever you're thinking about. And then exercise is a huge part of it. And then every day I'm committed to being in service to other people. So, when for me, what's helped me in my recovery as well is when I focus on helping somebody else, then the energy doesn't have to be on me. I don't have to, I don't find fault with things that are happening in my life, or maybe the fact that I am almost 60 and there's some wrinkles going on or whatever happening, So
Yeah.
it's like, and again, all of that stuff makes me who I am today. But gratitude journal, I ams, intentions, physical exercise, my spiritual reading is done in the morning as well with my tea. Like that's just my anywhere I go. Like I do not start my day without doing that. Even when I'm traveling at my Herbalife events, and I'll sleep with my team in the rooms. They're like, there she is in the bathroom, 5 o'clock in the morning, doing her little journaling.
Yeah.
Because if I'm not right, I can't be that for anybody else.
I love that. And it is so crucial. And I have to say, in a lot of ways, I definitely look up to you for all that you do to stay grounded and centered. And I guess before we part, tell us how you're helping others, and then also how the listeners can find you if they want to experience the motivation I've got through following you.
Okay, awesome. So for the last 10 years, I've had here in Daytona Beach a nutrition club. And what we do out of there, we call it a community wellness center. We get people well through healthy shakes and teas and fitness and motivation and inspiration and, running weight loss challenges and just really making an impact in our community. And I'm also a competitor coach. I'm a co-promoter for a bodybuilding figure and fitness natural show here in the state of Florida. And so I have a team of athletes that I work. We just finished a show with over 60 athletes. May 29th, we're launching another, 16-week prep for athletes. So again, my days are filled with who can I help become the best version of themselves. Again, I am one of the top leaders in Herbalife. So sometimes, there's calls and there's things that I do for the company. There's traveling. And I guess, what I feel so blessed is I've really been able to design the life that I've dreamt of, how I work, when I work, And it's just been absolutely, a blessing. And my children are all involved with me in my business, which to me, that is the best thing ever, is that we are building a legacy, here in our area and also in our family's life. The generations, get to be transformed by, number one, my dad making a commitment to get better, and then me making a commitment to get better. And I'm really able to teach other people how to do that as well. So it's a beautiful thing that every day I get to watch, lives being transformed and unfolded. And, if they're interested to learn more, you can find me on Instagram. I'm Fit Girl 4. My nutrition club is called Full Circle Nutrition here in Daytona Beach, Florida. And, I would love to work with people at whatever level. What I do, I'm not in it for the money. I'm in it for the impact, which is the most incredible thing. Because my philosophy is, when I go to bed every single night and I put my head on that pillow, I want to know that I've made a difference in somebody's life, whether it's just a smile, it's a handshake, it's a workout, it's a, shake that they're drinking, it's a conversation that we're having, because I feel that, we've all been given that gift and it's our gift to give it away. I want the world to win.
Oh, I love it. I really do. And you are a beacon of light. So, guys, you know how to find her if you want to find her. I know I'm going to continue to follow you. And who knows, maybe one day I'll want to do a show or something and I'll have to get advice. But thank you guys for another amazing episode of Abuse Recovery Success. You know where to find us, abuserecoverysuccess.com, April_the Hills, and April Hill on YouTube. Have a wonderful day, guys.